Bruce Mehlman. 2 years ago, Barack Obama was elected with a great deal of support and optimism from Silicon Valley. 2 years later, today, I think there's more ambivalence, a lot of disappointment here. What do you think the Obama administration needs to do in the next 2 years to win back the business community generally and specifically the technology community?
Well, first of all, let's be a little fair. It's hard to be president, and it's particularly hard to be president amid a severe recession. That said, you're right. I think the technology community is a bit disappointed, and that stems perhaps from two different things. First, the campaign, the president was perceived to be on everyone's side on almost every issue. And so my friends who were free traders were quite certain that Barack Obama was a free trader. My friends who were much more protectionist minded were quite certain the president was going to be with them. Folks who thought we need to open more markets, folks who thought we needed to cut business tax rates, found speeches and found things within the campaign to draw hope from, as did foes. So number one, I think there were folks disappointed because they had either unrealistic expectations or perceived promises unmet. Secondarily, to gain the support going forward, I would start with there are many policies that the administration put forward that were appreciated. A lot of them came in the so-called stimulus early on, more funding for R&D, funding for broadband, funding for health IT, funding for alternative energy. But there are a lot of programs and a lot of policies put forward that businesses are very concerned by. There's proposals to raise the taxes on international profits that Google and Intel and IBM and every tech company in America. Every tech company in America is very focused on global markets because they are the biggest and the fastest growing markets for tech companies. Proposals from the administration to raise the tech companies' taxes by a couple $100 billion on profits made in the growth markets are not helpful. There was a belief the president was going to push the Korea Free Trade Agreement, the Colombia Free Trade Agreement, the Panama Free Trade Agreement, all which were ready to go and all which have been renegotiated, but there haven't really been a lot of movement on opening markets, on investor uncertainty, whether it's around what's the EPA going to do. There were proposals at the Denver convention that the president was going to heal the planet and turn back the oceans. What does that mean? Cap and trade's clearly dead on the hill, but will the EPA do something subsequently, and what's that going to mean for the cost of manufacturing chips in America? Is it going to become prohibitively expensive? Are regulations going to require 4 or 5 years to get permitting from the EPA before you can create a new semiconductor fab? And if so, you have to contrast that with Singapore and Korea and other nations around the world that are offering tax incentives and offering rebates and asking what do we have to do to get the next semiconductor fab in their country? I think more certainty. I think more business-friendly policies and policies that help the economy get back on its feet are the keys to getting the tech community re-excited.
A lot of people out here in Silicon Valley believe that the political system is broken. We believe that it simply doesn't work, that it's archaic and stagnant, and it doesn't really matter which party is in power. Your party has just been re-elected in the House. Can you change people's opinions? Can you behave in a more dynamic way, or is it going to be politics as usual for the next 2 years?
That's a great question. Time will tell. Silicon Valley's invented many things, but unhappiness with the direction of government is not a Silicon Valley invention, and it's not unique to California or Silicon Valley. I think the Republicans, at least so far, are speaking with what I would at least have hoped for, with a requisite humility to realize this is not the country shifting rightward and deciding we're all Republicans now. This is the country for the third election in a row expressing lack of confidence. Since you're in San Francisco and you just won the World Series, to put it in baseball terms, this is like the fourth relief pitcher being brought in the same inning. They didn't bring the guy in because he's a great pitcher. They brought him in because the last 3 guys couldn't get any batters out.
Maybe you should grow a beard, right?
Mr. Boehner perhaps will consider a beard like that. It would look funny on Miss Pelosi, so perhaps it's good she's not speaker anymore.